I'm all in, I'm all out. Agree or disagree? This is from the big guy. I trust Matt Painter and Purdue 12-1 to win a national championship less than any coach in America this month. This month is March. And Matt Painter, who it's unbelievable because if you think about it, he took over for Gene Cady, who is a legend there at Purdue. Gene Cady, and you and I were having this conversation on the phone a little bit earlier, 25 years at Purdue. He did nothing at Purdue. I understand he's the second winningest coach in Big Ten history behind Bobby Knight. What did Gene Cady do at Purdue outside of a few Sweet 16s and a couple of Elite Eight appearances? Never won anything. Had Glenn Robinson, for the kids, if you don't know this, Big Dog was not a good. He's probably top 3 as far as college basketball players I've ever seen in my life, and Cady couldn't get anything done with him. Painter took over in 2005. So Cady was there at Purdue for 25 years, never won anything. Painter took over 18 years ago now. 4 Big Ten titles, 5 Sweet 16 appearances, and 1 Elite 8 appearance. He's had tremendous teams and has underwhelmed. Do you trust Matt Painter at Purdue less than any coach in America in March, Amal Shah?
Hell no. Are you kidding me? I trust Matt Painter about as much as I trust Gene Cady and John Chaney in March. You just can't trust
John
them.
Chaney's a good one to throw in the mix as well.
I mean, are you kidding me? You talk about overrated coaches. And you mentioned the Big Dog in 93-94. He averaged 24 points the previous year in 92-93. In 93-94, he averaged 30.1.
He was unbelievable.
And remember that dunk he had over Ostertag? Even Ostertag had to slap him 5. He had so much respect for the play. I was talking to Steve Smith, the former Michigan State star, and I said to him, you're the second best player I've ever seen in the Big Ten. He goes, who you going with, your guy Jimmy Jackson? I said, no. I said, I'm going with Glenn Robinson. He goes, I can't disagree.
Well, no, Glenn Robinson was a phenom. Glenn Robinson had other players shook and they were infatuated with Glenn Robinson. He was a thing. He was a meteor. And that is my point about Purdue basketball. It's not just Matt Painter who gets crushed all the time. Cady never won anything either, but he has this reputation as a god.
Well, you know what happens? Do you know who the Big Ten's winningest coach in football is of all time? Big Ten wins.
Pray tell.
Kirk Ferentz. Okay? Longevity does not equal greatness. And that's the one thing that's gotten so confused in sports. You ever see some broadcaster be with a team that nobody cares about for like 25 years and they're like, the guy's a legend? No, he's not a legend just because he couldn't ascend anywhere else. He's just there. He's just a guy. And that's how I look at Kirk Ferentz. Hayden Fry, to me, could run circles around Kirk Ferentz.
Hayden Fry was tremendous.
Tremendous, right? Like, when was the last time Iowa got the number 1 with Kirk Ferentz as the head coach? Unfortunately, he had to play that rain game in Columbus in '85. Otherwise, Hayden Fry would have had a shot at a national title. But my point is, I think sometimes people get labeled legend because they're at a school that has not had any expectations or have not achieved anything, so you become a legend. Think about this. You could go to UCLA and win 3 national titles. You're not a legend because John R. Wooden was there. And so there's certain places if you perform. John Calipari's had great success at Kentucky. I get it's not enough to appease the people in Big Blue Nation. But think about this. He's won a national title. He's made Final Fours, but it's Kentucky. There's only one goal. That's to have the banner at the end of the year.
So 12-1 on Purdue, who is remarkably confounding as a team. You and I were talking a little bit during the break. Edey's jump and his improvement from last year to this year really is remarkable. He's a great college basketball player, and he wasn't last year, so he's been tremendous. But they've been so up and down. 12-1 on Purdue. Where are you at right now on this team?
I think the team is solid. They don't shoot the ball from the perimeter as well as we've seen in years past. Lawyer's solid but inconsistent. They just don't. Look, with the way Zach Edey plays and kind of controls the paint, if they had the perimeter shooting that they've had in years past, I think Purdue would be a great bet to win the national title. Now, the 12-1, I think it's a great bet for them to make it to the round of 32.
Okay, next up, I'm all in, I'm all out. Agree, disagree. Bankroll management is harder than picking winners. Now, this is more of a philosophical conversation when it comes to throwing cash and betting. I'll say this about bankroll management. It really comes down to your temperament, your personality as a human being.
Great point.
All kidding aside, if you are a drinker, and I mean this, and you're in-game betting, you will get in trouble, because if you start to get a little loose with your, you know exactly where I'm going. If you're on tilt, and you're starting to drink and you're in-game betting, you can get very squirrely. So be careful there. We had Steve Fezzik, professional handicapper, on Monday on, and he was talking about unit size being overblown and a bit of a fallacy. I would say it depends on your personality type. If you're the type of person that does need to be regimented, then I think it's important to keep a flat unit bet across the board. However, if you're somebody like Fez who finds edges and considerable edges, you're going to go a little harder. Your take on bankroll management here is we talk a little philosophy.
Two-parter to this one. First of all, I love what you said there. Temperament's crucial to this in terms of if you're a person that might get, just absolutely.
You got to know yourself.
100%. And you mentioned going on tilt. For people that are unfamiliar with the term, it's when, you might have a losing hand or in poker, or you may have lost some bets in basketball or whatever the sport may be. All of a sudden, you're looking to find the next thing that moves. And I think that's to your detriment. Find and stick with your place. So I like the point you make there. But I agree with Fez more than I do with you in terms of the bankroll management situation in terms of units. I don't. To me, when you find a Conor McGregor versus a Floyd Mayweather, it can't be a 1 or 2 unit bet. It's got to be an unload the clip. It's got to be one you're going to take your shot on. And if you lose, you lose. You live with the result. But you've got to go for it. Because to me, otherwise, you've got to win too many games. It becomes too difficult if you're sitting there and valuing Max Scherzer the same as somebody else, who's pitching for a team, despite the value difference in terms of the pricing. I don't think every bet is created the same. Every game is not created the same. So when you find a game you absolutely love, you've got to fire on it. And I agree with Fez from that perspective. I think there's just certain situations and scenarios that are not created equal.
Okay, painter to bankroll management, now to dentist. I'm all in, I'm all out.
Yeah.
This is put together by the big guy. So here's what he says. Dentists are a scam. Can you please help me understand, Dustin? And I know the Novocaine is wearing off, and you do look unhappy. I don't know why you're unhappy. You got a $100 free roll, no big deal. But dentists are a scam. Do you care to explain why you put this in the rundown today?
Well, they're like mechanics, right? I do the bare minimum in between the times that I see them. They go in for one issue, and all of a sudden they come out with a bill detailing like 4 or 5 others costing 10 times as much money as you planned. And you don't know what they're talking about. They're talking way over your head, but I don't want to seem like an idiot. So I just go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Totally, yeah. And I just agree with everything they're saying, and I don't push back. So you go in with one issue, you come out with $1 million, and by the way, it costs you a ton of money, and you have no idea what you paid for in the end.
I got a couple of stories for you very quickly. I'm very lucky. The dentist...
You could just floss, and fix the problem. You could floss.
You don't floss?
Do I look like someone who takes care of myself in general?
I don't know. Maybe you're like the 90 million other Americans who all claim they got a gland problem.
Nobody flosses. I'm sorry.
I floss incessantly.
I guarantee if we put a poll question up right now at the Rap Radio, do you floss? Be honest. Less than 50% will say that they floss.
I would agree with that, but I'm just a little bit surprised because I think it's a great way to kind of prevent yourself from having to go to the dentist and having more issues when you're there.
You're right. It's information that could have helped me like 10 years ago.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.